Hello, Sally.
Hey Cam, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing very well. I love your hat.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. My honest truth about that is I am like embracing my gray and I'm trying to grow it out, but this is a transitionary period, so I'm like, oh, I'm going to embrace hats these days.
Yeah, understandable. Well, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I just got back. I was driving home for the holidays, and so I was in the car this morning, but made it safe, and um,
Good.
yeah, all's good. No complaints.
Good, good, good. I love to hear that.
Yeah. You getting ready for the holidays yourself?
I am. I am. It's snowing here a little bit, and yeah, I'm pretty much ready to go. Spending it with my family, my grandkids. So yeah, yeah.
Remind me where you're based again. I forget.
I'm in upstate New York.
Oh, okay. So you have snow there already.
Yeah, but we had a lot of rain yesterday. It's been weird, global warming. So, but yeah, but we don't have a ton of snow on the ground. It keeps coming and going. It used to be that we always had a ton of snow by now, but it's coming and going. So, yeah, changing all the weather dynamics, but we usually
Yeah,
have a pretty good amount. Yeah.
yeah. I feel like that'd be really nice, especially as, a spiritual person. There's something about snow that's so pure and wholesome. Um,
Yeah, it's beautiful. The other day it was snowing before the rain came in, and I live kind of in the woods on the water, and just all the snow was so peaceful. The dogs were out playing. Yeah, it really is beautiful. I like the snow, so I like the four seasons. So it's really is very peaceful when it's snowing, especially if you don't have to go anywhere and you can just stay home and chill
yeah.
out.
Um, and the other thing about the snow is that um, what I love the analogy because it really captures what I feel is the essence of a human being and what it means to be human. And what I mean by that is every snowflake is actually unique, right? When you look at it
Yeah.
at an individual level, every snowflake is completely customized and unique to itself. Yet at the same time, um, and you see this most obviously when it's fallen, but it's all one, right? And it's all of the same essence, and it's just this pure white nothingness. And so whenever I look at snow, I'm reminded of who we truly are, which embodies both our being as well as our humaneness.
Yeah, I love that. I love that analogy, and it's so true, right? Because we are all connected and interwoven it and together, right? And we create this community and this being together, but we also each have our own unique presence and medicine and how we show up in the world. And so yeah, I never thought about it in the snowflake world, but yeah, a total beautiful analogy because really, and then when we do melt together, like what can that create? When we bring our own authenticity to that, and not try to meld with the other snowflakes, right? Like we are just authentically ourselves, and then it just creates the bigger consciousness, the world, everything to even be more unique. Because I know a lot of times, even in my own journey, like I've definitely had my moments where I'm that bit of that chameleon trying to fit in. So where am I going to fit in? But I think when we start to embrace our own authenticity, like the snowflake, and then we are in community, like that's what brings us all together on a level that really elevates everything because we all have something different to bring to the table, and starting to embrace that with each other instead of all this separation, all this connection, I think can really be
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, yeah. So well said, um, and very, very true. I think Eckhart Tolle is the one who said, um, "Many humans, one being," and I think that really encapsulates the snow analogy. Uh,
Yeah, I love it. I love
Anyway,
it.
let's get to you. But
Sure.
thank you so much for being here and welcome
Yeah.
to Awakenpedia officially. I know that this has been a long time coming to get this on the calendar, to make this happen. Um, but I'm glad that you've had an extended look at, the inner workings of Awakenpedia leading up to this point. I think it will allow you to also just speak, to this platform and our mission a bit more pointedly. But of course, this entire conversation is about you and to highlight your beautiful contributions to healing, to awakening. And I know that you're deeply involved in a variety of modalities, from retreats to somatic breathwork to shamanic Reiki, various other things. So really excited just to allow you to share about your work and your perspective, and see what comes out of this conversation, because they're
Yeah.
always unscripted, informal, out of the unknown.
Yeah.
So
I love it like that.
yeah, yeah, of course, right?
Um,
So
yeah, well, I mean,
yeah.
what brought me to Awakenpedia was, I mean, I really just saw your visual, which is very like stunning and brings you in. And then I was like, oh, what is this? And then I just like explored it more. And um I loved that it's new and that it's just being cultivated and created from all these holistic practitioners. Obviously with the brains behind it with you and Maddie. And I just thought it was like a beautiful platform. As I, have been on my own journey of spirituality and starting to make so many transitionary things in my own life. 6 years ago or 7 years ago, I probably might have not noticed it, right? But I'm in a different place, and having that ability to step in and see what all these different holistic people in their awakening journeys and their spiritual journeys and coming from different places with different modalities. It's nice to have that all together. And I honestly, I loved that it was new and like being in on the ground floor of helping to cultivate that. I remember Maddie speaking to me about that. And yeah, I don't know. That was kind of intriguing to me because it is new. And so we're kind of building it. You're building it, right? But we're building it kind of together and
Sharing
what
it
we're
together.
offering. And so it's community. And I think so many people, especially in this realm, on their journeys, they crave community and connection. And so this provides that. It provides people that are offering their modalities, and shining a light on what they do. Um, and also for the people that are not, they're just coming in to see what other people are doing and being able to sample it, because they may not want to sign up for, say, my 3 month breath work, but they want to sample it, and then they're like, oh, I didn't really understand what breath work was because everybody's offering breath work. But breath work has so many ranges. So is it yogic breath work? Is it somatic breath work? Is it there's so many things. So it really gives the community members at a really, really low price to step in and dabble and start to explore what they may want to explore and like open their mind. So to me it was that ability to like open our minds spiritually, emotionally. And then for the practitioners, we're able to really be in community and show what we do, and just see what happens, because it's a beautiful new platform. And so yeah, that's what was intriguing to me, honestly.
Hmm. Thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate you just sharing, kind of what brought you to Wikipedia, what resonated with you and why. And yeah, I love hearing it because I very much see it the same way. And um, this is new, and it's all happening through me, through us,
Mhm.
from the unknown as a pure divine expression. And trying to keep it as much of the ego out of it as possible so that it can be a really pure, genuine offering to facilitate the awakening and healing journey for both members and partners alike.
Mhm.
Because we're all in this together. Every healer needs a healer, every therapist needs a therapist, every teacher has a teacher.
Yeah,
And
100%. I am
yeah.
totally, on board with that. Like, I sometimes feel like I have a team of people, like, as I'm on my journey, because I have different things, right? I'm promoting, or I'm, you know, a new entrepreneur who came from a nursing background, you know, 27 years as a nurse. I wasn't a business person. And then I'm also in my own healing journey, because there's nothing like becoming a new entrepreneur to really highlight where your healing starts. And so I see that so much. And then creating my own self-development. So testing out new modalities so that I can bring them to my own clients and what's working for me. And so that's why I think, you know, having this ability at a low price point that allows people to come in and be part of the community and try different things, and then see what like resonates. Because yes, breath work was very life transformational for me along with other things, but breath was really huge for me. But you know, is it for everybody? Like, you know, it may not be. That's not my job. My job is just to present it and allow people to figure that out, what feels good in their body. And so and just even having that language in areas like this and platforms like this, I think is just so going to be so amazing for people to be able to dabble and just see what like resonates with them without making a huge commitment, because self-development world, you know, can be a huge commitment. And so just
Yeah.
allowing it to be easier for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you're bringing up so many points that I'd love to unpack, but we'll have to save those for another time. But I do just want to say, and this is a new development that we just kind of uh, have announced and are kind of leaning into full time here now. But we've decided to open Awakenpedia up from a member perspective, as a free resource now to the world, and that's, you know, really big development, because it's just going to supercharge our ability to reach more people, to create less friction. And you know, there's no paywall, there's nothing that's preventing people from learning about what it means to heal, what it means
Mhm.
to wake up, to get introductions and exposure to all of the different modalities available, to learn, right, really unlearn. But
Right.
just to be able to get in the door here and introduce to you and all the other partners, without any type of friction, is really going to supercharge it. So we have a really exciting 2024 ahead.
Mm.
But we'll be
I love
sharing more about that with you personally later. But
Yeah, I love it. I love
yeah,
it. Yeah.
for now, let's dive into you, if that's okay. I'd like to just start it off here with your story. I think that's always the best way to kick things off. And what that
Sure.
really means is anything that you feel is what defines or kind of guides your narrative, your journey. Like, how did you get into all of this stuff, you know? And can you speak a bit about your
Yeah.
awakening journey?
Yeah, sure, I can. Yeah, so my profession is I'm a nurse, registered nurse. I was in administration towards the end. And you know, I grew up in a pretty chaotic life, with a lot of trauma. Um, I didn't really think about that though, right? I wasn't really thinking about that. I just was living my life and having a lot of patterns that kept showing up. And it was interesting because I was in a leadership position and I just started having panic attacks and just something felt disconnected. I had taken a coaching certification probably right before COVID, and that started to slightly awaken me to like more holistic modalities. And I have all this, you know, strong Western medicine background, and I took the coaching, but I didn't really do anything with it. So I'm a board certified nurse coach, but then COVID hit and I was deep in it. And I just started to not feel connected to myself, to my job anymore. I loved what I did, but I felt like, oh, Western medicine is very money oriented. And I understand money is a piece of everything, but you know, there's a patient, there's like a family, there's this whole modality we're kind of missing the point on. And big pharma, that's a whole nother thing. But so for me, it was just a disconnect. Like I started to feel like, I don't know, something seems off. And then I started having panic attacks, honestly. And I think was at a point where I was working a lot, and that was my superpower. I thought it was my superpower. Like I can just get it done. If you needed something done, you came to me. My partner works a lot, my husband works a lot. And so we just like it just kind of got into this routine. And I don't know. I just like my body was like, we are not doing this. I won't say what
Mhm.
I really think my body said to me, but it was like, we are not doing this anymore. Like, you're not going to listen to the signs that we're showing you. So we're going to stop you in your tracks. And I started having panic attacks at work. I was really disconnected and kind of even more depressed. And so I started to explore shamanic Reiki. I had a thought about plant medicine, but I had no experience with that or knew anybody. So I kind of looked into it and I found a shaman a couple hours away, and he had a program for 9 months for shamanic Reiki. And so I ended up doing that, but he also took a group for plant medicine. So I kind of was like dabbling with the thought, but wanted to be in a safe environment. So I did that, and that started to open my eyes to, I was not really a religious person. I was raised Catholic, but I really had, I want to say, kind of lost faith and just in general. I wasn't really practicing anything. And so then I started to open my eyes to like, my spirit animal in the spirit world, and like having faith. It doesn't have to be a religion. It's more about the universe and just having more gratitude. And so that kind of really started me going. And next thing, I had an altar in my house, and I was meditating. And then I went through a program, an inner alignment program, through one of my mentors, which is one of the things I help people with now. And that is a program where I kind of went through for 8 weeks, and I really learned meditation and really looked at my shadow sides, and was able to really did a lot of healing work with soul retrieval. And I offer that now, but I went through that program myself, and that really started to change me in the sense of like, wow, there's a whole nother world out here. Like, the grind is not really it. And then I started to see my own patterns and my own shadow sides. And meditation really brought to me something that I hadn't really experienced before. I had been suffering with some chronic pain issues after a surgery, and they were pretty debilitating. And it's almost embarrassing as a nurse to say I didn't really understand nervous system regulation, but that's not what we're doing in the hospital. I'm just going to let you know that. Like, we're not talking about nervous system regulation or any of that. And we're just giving someone another pill, honestly. And I had this pain for a year and a half. And with my routine new practices in the morning and my meditation and small amounts of breath, yogic breath work, before I did somatic, um, one day I woke up and I didn't have the pain. It was insane. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And when I'm regulated, I don't have the pain. And I was like, wow, like, okay, this is something, right? Like, I need to explore this more. And so just getting deeper and deeper into manifestation, and just knowing that, having faith in the universe and putting things out there in a way, instead of being, a shameful way, or like wallowing in my own misery. I really started to take radical responsibility for my own healing. And my life started to change. And as I started to change, I shouldn't say change, I don't like that word that much, but as I started to have a remembering and coming home to myself, um, my house was like, what is my husband was like, what is happening in this house? And because we were both overachievers, workaholics, and like that was the plan. Like, that
Yeah.
was the plan. And now I've disrupted like what's happening. And so that took an adjustment. But the more that I came home to myself and had this remembering and this awakening, whatever we want to call it, um, the ripple effect starts, right? Like, he's not on the same journey, and that's okay, but he's coming along and is so supportive. I ended up leaving my job, and that was the safe thing, to stay there.
Yeah.
And my benefits and everything. And I started my own coaching and healing business, and traveled to Peru, and partook in some plant medicine, and just experiencing all the different things. And there is no destination or goal for me. I just know it's a journey. And I just keep embracing opportunities and connections, and seeing where things are going to take me. I mean, I'm lucky that I'm able to do this. And I do see the ripple effect around me, and I think that's a key point for people, right? When you're on your journey, like people may your family or whoever may not be on the same exact same path, but as you start to remember, your spirit kind of like comes back out, right? And then it does ripple out. And the people around you, sometimes they fall away, but for usually I think that they start to come along. And it's okay if they're not on the same exact path as me, as long as they're supportive. And that's what I've experienced. And I know that I've been very lucky with that. And yeah, I just keep experiencing new things and reaching out and connecting. 2024 for me is a year of connection. I'm just launching my podcast and I'm super excited, but it's all about connection and intuition, connecting with people, not about the ROI, but more about the like, I don't know where this is taking me, but this feels really good right now, and this is what I want to do. And embracing my own femininity and my own feminine embodiment in my leadership style, because I led from a very masculine standpoint in my past job, and I'm really trying to embrace a different side of that. And
Sure.
that's been all part of like, I guess, my awakening and my understanding that there is way more out there, and we're not utilizing it at all, at all.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
probably the long, I don't know, version. Sorry.
No, no, please don't apologize. It was very nice to absorb that and just listen and um, kind of partake on your awakening journey with you through this, narrative that you shared. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
And
there's so much about like that energy, right? Like I used to like
yeah,
really lead from that masculine, and now trying to step back and be like, it's just like what can come to me? Like who is going to be in my circle, in my sphere, and who am I attracting? And um the more that I'm embracing that, just even recently, because I was a little frozen a couple months ago again, because I seem to pattern that, and I'm recognizing that now. But as I'm really embodying that, like the people that are coming into my sphere are just amazing. And just allowing that to be and see what happens, almost like when you were talking about like the changes for Awakenpedia, like making it more available and just seeing what happens, not having a huge, like, obviously there's an attachment, but allowing it to be like that different way that we're feeling trying to achieve that goal. Um,
yeah,
it comes from such a different place, and it has been a challenge for me to repattern and rewire um, that those aspects of my personality, because they are very wired in to do it a certain way, and
sure.
that rewiring, it takes a while, but
Hmm.
I think again it's a coming home to really where my soul was when I came here, and what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm
Yeah.
really sure of that piece.
Mhm. Well, you speak to it so beautifully, and I do think that you uh, point to the heart of what the awakening journey really is. Um, and it's funny that you mentioned, just talking about the destination versus the journey. And I had this realization that the awakening journey is realizing that the destination is the journey as
Yeah.
experienced through the here and now. And
Yes.
that's like the paradox of it, right? Because everyone's trying to get there, and yet they don't realize when you get there, there becomes here. And so here we're going from here to here. And
Right.
that's the strange paradox of this whole thing. And when you realize that you're always here and it's always now, you stop trying to get there, and then the dog stops chasing its tail, and then you can
Yes.
just relax and you can be without having to do or have and this and that.
I love that because it's so true. I've spent so much of my life trying to get there. Where
Yeah.
is there? And then I miss out on so many of the things that are here right now. Um, and it's been, that's like so many people, right? And I didn't even know there was a different way. And it's been, like I said, a challenge for me to like slow down and not be doing, and enjoying and embracing that childlike side that probably never even really maybe existed since way back for a lot of reasons. Um, and just embracing that again and just allowing. And I'm experiencing that as I'm launching my podcast because it's just fun and I don't even really know where it's going to go. And that's not usually how I do things. So I have been feeling like, okay, maybe like it's starting to happen and just like allowing it to just be versus like, oh, it has to be this.
Yeah.
Um, and it is a different feeling when you start to even have a little project that works like that.
Mhm.
And it is a different way of being. And I just think, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it isn't about the end result anymore. I was just talking to a client and she was like, because we're almost done with our container, and she's like, where do we go? And I'm like, really, that's up to you because in coaching, I don't know, does it have to end? There's not a cert at the end of this. Like, what do you feel? Like, what are you feeling? Do you feel like you're good? Like, it depends. It's really a feeling, and it really is about connecting back to our intuition and our body and how do we feel about that versus what our monkey mind is constantly saying for us to do or achieve or that. And it's getting people back into their body, into their feelings. I didn't even,
Yeah.
I didn't even know what that was 5 years
Yeah.
ago, how I feel in my body, or
Mm.
that's a whole
Yeah.
nother story, but yeah.
Let's get into that. And by the way, just like what I'm hearing you say in terms of the difference in the doing and this revolution of doing in terms of not what we do but how we do it is really the essence of awakened doing, and that's also coined by Eckhart Tolle. But it points to how in the New Age we're bringing being into the doing, so that the quality of consciousness, the quality of the energies that's flowing into the doing is much higher. It's vibrating
Mhm.
at a much higher level. And so you could almost describe it, it'd be fair to say that it's doing from the seat of love rather than the seat of fear, the seat of consciousness rather than the seat of ego. And that has a very different feeling. The quality when you're doing from that place, um, it's doing from the state of connectedness. And when you're doing from connectedness, you're not as interested about the outcome. You're doing it for the process because the process is self-fulfilling in and of itself. So I just wanted to make that comment. But um,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to just transition this to focus on your offering suite specifically, and if you could talk to us a bit about the difference between what somatic breathwork is versus, as you pointed to earlier, just kind of like the whole range of different breathworks out there, breathwork solutions. What is somatic breathwork specifically, and how do you facilitate that?
The way I facilitate my breath work is, and I call it somatic, is because I'm really connecting people back into their body. And so I am a firm believer, and I was trained this way. And I started out with my clients, honestly, with just like alternate nostril breathing and yogic breathwork techniques. And I found that like a lot of people, everybody is not ready for meditation, or they have this thought or this block around meditation. And so I find that breath can be a great way, almost like a bait and switch, because their monkey mind is kind of focusing on the breath, and then it drops them underneath without them even thinking, oh, I have to meditate. My mind has to be clear, which is, we know is not true all the time. Like there's all different types of meditation, just like breath. But so I was finding that worked. And so then I went to take this facilitation course, which was 6 months and pretty intense. And I don't think intensity around, because you see so many different types, right? We see, especially online, we see these 3 hour, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that or Wim Hof or any of that. It's just what your body is ready for. And what I do in my practice is I really want to make sure to create safety for my clients or my breathers. And I think that's hugely important, was in my own journey, feeling safe in my body, because a lot of us, for many different reasons, didn't feel safe in our bodies. And we don't know that. We don't know that we don't feel safe, but it shows up in other manifested ways in our day to day, right? So I like to create really a nurturing environment in my breath, and bring them into their body, bring them to a place that they start to like even feel anything within their body, and then create that safety as they trust in their self and their mind body connection. And so, yeah, I push a little, but yes, we can tap into that subconscious, and they have the most beautiful um, transformations, whether I am just doing a slow set song list with deep, long, elongated breaths, or I'm taking them on a little bit of a more high-paced journey mid breathwork session, and I kind of intuitively decide that. Um, Even with my one-to-one breathers. So I kind of see what their intention is and see. I have one-on-one client, and I never have really a fast-paced song with him. We are doing slow grounding breath for that time, and he just has magical transformations from that. That's really all he needs. He doesn't really need to go at a really high pace. And he's still able to tap to his subconscious. That's all he needs. And everybody's a little bit different, but I really base it a lot on intuition. Kind of feel the room out, feel what the room needs, whether it's Zoom or in person, and feel the energy of the room, and then create those breath patterns for them with the music. In my somatic practices, we do music. I take them with a guided meditation, and then I bring them in, and then I bring them out the same way. There is a magic I find that happens with my breathers at the end of the active breath, because we do, maybe the breathwork session is an hour. We do about 25 minutes of active breath. The rest is your normal breath with meditation. But I call it the magic carpet, because when I end the active breath, I always ask them to step on the magic carpet, because when I go back to the natural breath, there's this transitionary period that sometimes can be so magical for myself and for my breathers. Because many times, if we are in this hustle culture, right, we're like, oh, is this almost over? Where are we at? And so I encourage them in the beginning to allow it to just be during the session as I guide them, and then to step on that magic carpet. I remind them when we're there, and just enjoy that moment. In person, sometimes I'll do a little Reiki in my in-person sessions at the end, when they're in that meditative state and they're starting to come back. But there's a really lot of magic that happens as we tap in, and the breathers are amazed as they start to connect with their body. And again, they're not amazed because I'm amazing. I'm just the guide, showing them what their own breath can do, which is what I find so magical about breath. You can do it anywhere. I'm talking about, these meditative journeys, right? But breath is amazing. You can do it if you're at dinner and you go in the bathroom and take 10 breaths because the people you're having dinner with are getting on your nerves a little bit, right? Like, if we want to
Yeah.
keep it real,
Mhm.
it's free. It's your own breath that you're able to provide this. So I don't know. That's why I think breath is so magical.
Yeah.
And
Always
they're able to tap in. They're tapping in. I call it the psychedelics without the psychedelics. It's like the experiences that some of the breathers have. Um, and not everybody has that experience every time. And I do encourage my breathers to not compare. Don't do the comparison game. If
Yeah.
someone's crying, you're not doing it wrong because you're not crying. If
Yeah.
someone's yelling, you're not doing it wrong because you're not. It's your journey, it's your body. I don't know where each individual person is with the safety in their own body. And so we want to bring them slow. So as I've been introducing breath online and in my community, I have taken a more slower approach because I want people to feel safe.
Mhm.
That is the key, to feel safe in their body as they
Yeah.
start to explore that. And they'll just be able to slowly tap in, and the magic will happen. It just does.
Mhm.
It just does.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for giving the overview there about how you your process, how you facilitate breath work. I mean, it is so important to hear every partner's unique style, right? Because it really is unique. It's coming
Yeah.
through your unique form. That's what makes it unique. It's the snowflake again, right? And that's why, every breathwork session, even within the same provider, is unique because it's your own
Yes.
experience. And that's where this stuff becomes so valuable as a regular practice.
Right. Because I have my own medicine that I'm bringing as the guide, where I am in my process that day. What am I bringing in to the session? Where am I with my energy, which I try to really keep
Mhm.
clean, but I'm still
Yeah,
human. I'm not
yeah.
like, I'm not enlightened. I'm human coming to the experience. And then where is each breather? Even if people are breathing with me all the time, where are they that day?
Hmm.
And even though some of us have trained in the same place, so we have similar ways that we may facilitate, it's still individual. And so
Yeah.
that's, I think, what's the beauty of it, right? Because you
Hmm.
just never know what is going to happen in the session and where, you're going to be open that day, how heart-centered you're going to be, if you're ready to go deeper. And so
Yeah.
I find the beauty in all of that. And for me as a facilitator, what I found, it was a really turning point in my practice because I was very mind centered around my coaching. And even though I was doing meditation and stuff, I still had this block. And when I encountered breath in this fashion, it really started to change me generally also because I was tapping into a different place. And I don't go into my breathwork sessions with a script. um, it's very intuitive. Yes, I have a playlist. I have playlists that come from, but I pick those very intuitively too on how I feel that day. Sometimes I create the playlist that morning because I have maybe a hit on like what I want to bring. Um, but I don't. My MO would be to worry about like, oh, how's the session going to go? But I don't have any attachment to the session anymore, and it's not for everybody, and that's also okay with me. Um,
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
just created a different, again, that being version of coming from my heart center versus, oh, I'm going to provide breath and everybody has to have this experience, which is kind of the old way I did things. And now this has brought a new way of me being, which I do believe 100% that that energy is picked up um, from, the people that are there, that the clients, the breathers, whoever it may be, as you're just more embracing your own heart space. That energy radiates out, right? And I always start my sessions with breathing together and we close with that. And, I always call that juicy because that always juices me up because the energy in the room is so amazing when you start to be able to feel that energy. And then I just encourage my breathers to just be with that and see when they start to eventually will feel that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, can you just kind of take us a bit further now into the specific containers you offer in terms of like you mentioned one-on-one. Do you do group work as well? I know you have like longer term packages, 3 months, I believe.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
Can you
Yep.
speak to your containers?
Sure, sure, sure. So, as far as breath goes, I'm offering starting in January again, a 3-month container. I've been doing that a few times now, and really that is just I keep it intimate. So a group of like less than 8. Right now it's for women, but I've very open to like creating these containers for men and women because right now I'm working with a lot of women, but I have men one-to-ones. Um, because I think men are underserved sometimes in this community. And not Awakenpedia community, but in general. But right now I have a woman's container that I keep pretty intimate and we do breath for 3 months together and at a pretty reasonable price. And we do a little bit of coaching, but it's more about less coaching, more integration. I usually bring a topic and we do a little discussion, maybe just like soul shadow or perfectionism or overachieving or whatever. Like I kind of have a download that day. There's not again with that, it's not scripted either. It's kind of more how I feel. I bring it to the group and it's so amazing because it just usually resonates. And then there's some time for discussion. We breathe into whatever I pick up from those clients that day. And then they are able to form that community over 3 months. And so my last group, I mean, it was just an amazing cultivation of these women that were a little apprehensive to see them on week 1. And then on our last week together, breathing at home from their beds, like it was like a slumber party. Like they were so relaxed and had so many things that came through to them, so many intuitive hits and so many changes that happened in that 3 months of basically breathing and some integration, a little bit of coaching, but it's not a big coaching container. It's more about the breath and connecting back to their body and their spirit, really, is what we kind of focus on. And then I do one-on-ones virtually. I obviously have in-person stuff in my hometown, but I do one-on-ones. And that would be for people that really want that more one-on-one work on their intention, their specific intention, and then we, can play a little bit more. We can go a little bit deeper. We can, because in the group, we want to be sure as we're cultivating that safety for the group. I don't like to take people too deep, and that might be my own stuff, but that's just how I do my practice, and that's been working for me, keeping it not too intense. Because again, I don't think intensity equals transformation. I think there's a range of what can happen. And I think nurturing, grounding, loving with a little push seems to be my MO for that. And so that works for the clients too, that come to me, right? Everybody has something different they want. So those are my breathwork containers. And then obviously I'm a coach. I can do I do virtual Reiki, and I do inner alignment coaching, which is a group program that I'm launching in January also.
You
And
got
that
lots of awesome.
takes them through meditation and really a lot of healing work. We do soul retrieval work. And I do one-off sessions on that, which is a kind of a deep, intense look at your current triggers and where they're vibrationally coming from. A lot of my work is really trying to heal at the root, right? We think my panic attacks for me, it wasn't just anxiety. I don't just have anxiety. Like I have a deep rooted issue from childhood. So I do a lot of work around trauma and kind of going back, not to relive your trauma, but more about seeing how it's showing up today and, getting into that inner child and bringing him back. And, creating that safety and love, that they can, know that you're there for them as your adult self. So I do a lot of work around that too.
Yeah, yeah. Maddie just led a inner child healing meditation yesterday, so yeah, it's timely to bring that up. But it's so important to help dislodge and ultimately dissolve the trapped egoic energy that we call trauma,
Yeah.
and release it from your energy system.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And there's
Okay,
so many
well,
ways.
look, we're already at 45 minutes, which is wild. But what I'd like to do, and I think this is a fun little way typically to wrap things up, um, is just to let you share any advice or guidance that you'd like to kind of impart onto the community, the world. And when I ask this question, typically I frame it in the way where it's like, well, um, you can pick any part of the journey that you'd like to speak to in terms of your guidance and advice, but perhaps whatever just resonates most deeply and purely with you.
I think if I just thought quickly, I think it's about the connection back to ourselves and our body. And so I was so disconnected from my body. I didn't recognize that. So that's not something people I think recognize, but just getting curious about like, how is my life going? And is this really how I want it to be? And then not shaming or doing anything like that around it, but really getting curious on like, how can I explore these different modalities? Because when we're in this world of coaching and spirituality and awakening, we have kind of the lingo or like, but we think everybody knows all this and they don't, right? They don't even know it's an option. I didn't know it was an option.
No, yeah,
And so just being curious, if
yeah.
you're just feeling not like you're something's off, because that's what I hear so many of my clients, and that's how I felt. I just felt like something is just not right anymore. It's not resonating. And so getting curious and exploring places like this and connecting, finding someone to help you guide you back to your body, because that is where all the magic is. Like we think it's all in our ego and our brain, but that is not, I don't believe that that's true. We have so many messages that are coming through our body, and that's what's manifesting as so many long-term illnesses and things. And I was a person that ignored those. So those are the things, getting curious, exploring. Don't just say no because it's uncomfortable. Like just check it out, like as long as it's safe, and just see with meditation, breath, all these experiences, and just be open and open your heart. um because that is key, like leading from our heart, not our ego and our brain anymore. And yeah, I know that's probably a long-winded answer to you,
No,
but
great,
yeah.
great advice. Really great
Yeah.
advice. You're the first to have said that, and I think it needs to be microphoned because it starts with the willingness, and that willingness manifests as curiosity or just to be able to be receptive, right? So many people dismiss alternative healing practices because the world has conditioned the belief that they're crazy, woo-woo, witchy, this, that, like whatever words you want to use, that just kind of prevent people from even giving it a chance. And I was somebody also, by the way, that was like, I was mainstream materialist, private equity, corporate world, climbing the ladder, wasn't religious, didn't grow up spiritual. Like, it was never something that I was raised with. But when I actually experienced it, direct experience, it completely transformed my entire life. I mean, obviously, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah,
went from
it is.
skyscraper corporate buildings to being a nomad and whatever, but and it's the most incredible transformation. So I want to speak to the beautiful metamorphosis that this opportunity presents if you just can meet it halfway.
Right, because it's about the experience, like how you start to feel. Like when I meditate now, I feel a sensation in my body. That didn't start out that way. But now when I drop in, when I'm really in it, I feel differently. I am transported, maybe, I guess. But that didn't happen on day one, right? I had to be open and coming again from that Western medicine where it was just take a pill, have a surgery. And I did all that. I did all that. And now I have the repercussions of that. But just being curious and open and being, it doesn't have to look a certain way. It isn't witchcraft, right? This is,
Yeah.
there's so much data coming up now. So I do think that we're in a time when this is really going to explode and blossom.
Yeah.
And so wanting to make it mainstream so people know that they have options and it's okay to be curious and it's okay if everything isn't for you. Like I'm a firm believer. I don't like anything like forced on me. So I always want people to feel like they have choice. Choice is so important. And I think in Awakenpedia, you're giving them choice, right? There's choice in so many options that they can choose from, so many practitioners that they can choose from. And then see what resonates with them because there's multiple breathwork people, right? And so who resonates? Who do I like? Maybe I like everybody, or maybe I just feel good when I am with this person, and that's
Yeah.
fine. There's no shame or there's no blame around that. It's just what feels good to you. So
Right.
that's really important to start connecting back to that piece. And sometimes it does take a little help to make those connections again. And then once you're off and running, it can be so beautiful.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly too. And again, you capture Awakenpedia, what this is, why this is evolving in the way it is. Um, standing as this open invitation of optionality of complete full service modality servicing. If you Sorry, bad English, but point is that there's tons of choices, right? And it's all an invitation, and it's to give you the opportunity to be guided into the modality and the provider that you resonate with most, that matches your frequency, that you feel
Yes.
that is most aligned with your dharma, your journey, your own
Yes.
healing. And never forced on anyone, never forced in any way. It's because it can't be forced. This
Right.
teacher comes when the student's ready.
Hmm.
And so this is a platform for the new age, and it's just getting started. And it really is an incredible, exciting time
Hmm.
because the tsunami is on its way. We talk about this awakening consciousness, the demand from, the 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 massive amount of egos that are just imploding, and just people getting shook into their fundamental foundations and
Hmm.
saying, who am I? What is life? What is this? What am I doing here? Am I actually living in alignment? Why do I feel suffering? People are starting to become aware of their
Yes.
suffering, you know, and
Yeah.
that's a key phase of the evolution of consciousness, because only when you're aware of your suffering do you actually want to stop it.
Right. And so many times we think that someone else is coming to save us, but really
Yeah.
they're not coming to save us. We have to take that responsibility for our own healing. And then hopefully the people around us will start like their own healing too. But nobody is coming to save us individually. And I think that's a big piece of what people are waiting for. And I'm just going to say, like, you need to do it for yourself, however that looks, and be open, because there's so much opportunity. And when you start to feel the feels and you start to connect back to your body and you feel how good it can feel when you are aligned and you're doing something that feels good and not forced, until you feel it and experience it, like everything in here is an experience. And I think it's almost hard to tell someone unless they start to experience it for themselves. Like breath is hard to get people to come if they've never done a meditative hour somatic breathwork journey, because they haven't experienced. It's hard to explain what will happen. And so I always say to people, you have to experience it. And so many of these things, Maddie's, meditation lesson, it has to be experienced, because I could do an inner child meditation and she could do one, but it's the experience of what, each of us brings that day, and then the person coming. So just take a moment to experience this beautiful platform, because it is changing. The world is changing. We need to be more connected. And something I just want to, like, I know we're over time, is that I was just talking to somebody this week and last week about the same thing came up again. And it is about a lot of this self-healing and self-development work is about us healing ourselves. And I know I spoke a lot about that today, but I don't want to underscore the importance of, again, the community piece, right? So it is our radical responsibility to heal ourselves. But we don't live in an age where community is really embraced, right? But back in the day, in tribes and different ethnicities, I mean, we worked in community. And so I think that is a piece that's missing in society today. And so areas like this create this community, because I think it does start with us individually, but then knowing that community is there is really a really important piece of our journey also. Having that support in community. So I think they're both really important in connection and our healing journeys.
Yeah. 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 I echo everything you say. I do. And this is why you're a partner. You're on our team. We're doing this together. Um, ultimately, awakening is the remembrance that we're all one. It's all one, and it's to enrich the connection. Uh,
Right.
so that's why the community is so important, so fundamental to
Hmm.
this journey. And I'm just
Yeah.
really excited to have you on the team with us, to be, on the platform, to be a part of this collective shift in consciousness, contributing your verse to the play. And I'm excited to see where we take it from here and how it evolves into 2024 and beyond. So,
Yeah. I'm
um,
super excited. And I think, yeah, it's just going to get bigger and bigger. And I'm happy to be in at the ground level, because I think there's
yeah,
just so much in community. And yeah, I just think it can only get bigger and better in the most like loving way.
yeah, yeah. And that's my intent and mission, and my job in this is to keep it straight and narrow, to keep it pure, to keep it real, authentic. That is the only aim I have on my side in terms of
Mhm.
how I steer this. So, anyway, let's wrap up here. This was
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Everyone who tuned in and those who watch this later can find more about Sally and her bio, her offerings, discounts in the member forum. This video will be in there too. So,
All
um,
right. Thank you so much,
yeah.
Cam.
Okay. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye bye.